I call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Ham.
Here.
Toohill.
Yes.
Estey.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Rove.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Any changes to the agenda, Council? Seeing none, we'll go on to the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes of the August 26, 2024 council meeting. Approval of the August 30th, 2024 payroll in the amount of $171,199.61. Acceptance of the Carnegie Historical Museum minutes. Acceptance of the Beautification Commission minutes. Resolution of employment in the Park and Recreation Department. Approval of ACH payment to the Department of Revenue in the amount of $28,576.75. Approval of total claims in the amount of $399,611.81. We had one claim over $75,000 to Alliant Energy in the amount of $83,471.50.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Moved by Gandy, second by Flournoy to approve the consent agenda. Any questions or discussion?
I did review the claims and they looked like they were in order.
Great, thank you. Anything else? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Gandy.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Rove.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Estey.
Yes.
Thank you, that was approved. Public forum and appearances. Looks like we have Darren Hamilton here to talk about Kiwanis and the Car Club.
Good evening, council members and mayor. I'm glad to be back here. We're 2 weeks away from Kids Day and the car show. So we've got Saturday the 21st for Kids Day, and we've got Sunday the 22nd for the car show. In your packet, I had Rebecca add a couple of maps that show different locations that we need some things at. The first two pictures should relate to temporary no parking for Kids Day, and that would be along the south side of Grimes and then also the north side of Briggs. Those streets are pretty narrow and they're probably the narrowest ones that we try to get the parade to go down, so parking on those two sides would help us out tremendously. There is also a map in there for where we're planning barricades along the parade route, and a full description of the parade route is there, starting from the high school and going west on Broadway to Main, then you go north on Main up to Grimes, then you'll go east on Grimes over to Court, south on Court down to Briggs, east on Briggs back to the high school. And that's been the traditional route of the parade for the last several years. We gave up going down what was at the time Highway 34 when the bypass wasn't open, and we found that to be a little bit too dangerous for kids and marching bands and all of that kind of stuff. So we rerouted the parade to its current route today. We're going to start serving pancakes at 6 a.m. on the square, and we'll go until 1 in the afternoon. Book of 10 tickets is $60. Any single ticket sold in advance is $6. Any ticket sold at the door is going to be $8 this year, so we increased that by $1. We're really looking forward to this day, and we look forward to it every year, and we thank the city for all the support that we get from you and helping us make this a really good success and something that we want to continue as a tradition for Fairfield. Now for the car show, there's another map that shows the downtown square area. I had highlighted it, but it didn't come across in what I sent, so I apologize for that. But we're going to close off the entire square around the park itself for the car show. We aren't going to go up any side streets like we had in the past. We had really good success with having the cars more packed in a little bit better because it looks like we have a larger show. We still get 120 to 140 cars, and we'll have room to expand that in the parking situation that we have right now. And I think the people around town liked it a lot better. A lot of comments were made about how it looked like we had a really big car show this year rather than having cars down the side streets where they weren't as visible. And it really made a difference with how the crowd liked everything. Again, I'll be out probably putting up barricades at midnight the night before. I'll be moving all the barricades from the parade route down to the square, and then we'll block off Main and Court, both right next to Burlington. And early in the morning on Sunday, we'll be out at about 8 a.m. to go across corner from Broadway and Main on the southwest side to the northeast side of that intersection, and do exactly the same thing at the other intersection that's up there. That way it keeps traffic for us all in kind of a big loop. And then the parking along Broadway on the south side of the square, we block that off as well, so that when the cars are receiving their awards, they can come around the square to get to where we hand them out at the table at the north end. So do you guys have any questions?
Seeing none, let's take these one at a time. I'd like a motion to approve Kids Day route.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Estey, second by Flournoy. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. And the car show barricades around the square.
I move to approve the plans for the car show.
Okay, moved by
Second.
Flournoy, second by Estey. Was that you? Or Ham, sorry. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thanks,
Hey,
Darren.
Thank you
And,
very much,
as
Council.
always,
I
it's a
really
great couple
appreciate it.
events.
I know that the car club really appreciates it. We're down to 5 members now, and we're hoping to add some to that because it gets to be a big load on a few people.
Yeah.
And then the Kiwanis Club has recently picked up some brand new members, and we're starting to move in a positive direction with a younger crowd here in town wanting to keep Kids Day going, as we did when we were the younger people in town, and the others that came before us. So,
Great.
thank you very much.
Good, we need strong clubs. Okay, let's move on to resolution action items and ordinances. The first action item is consideration of portion of downtown assessment costs with local option sales tax. The amount, if you recall from last week, I mentioned is $312.50. This is a fourth of the total costs of $1,250. It was offered to us at half price. And so the city, CVB, Grow Fairfield, and the chamber will all participate.
Make the motion to approve this expense.
Second.
Okay, moved by Flournoy, second by Gandy. Any other discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Kness.
Yes.
Estey.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Passed unanimously. Next, consideration of installation of stop signs. Mel, do you want to give council and the public just a little background on this? This is stop signs at
Main and
Main and
Grimes.
Grimes, yes.
So it's currently on Main Street. There are stop signs. On Grime, there are yield signs. I talked to you guys lots about how four-way stops are not always useful, but with MUTCD, when there are a fair number of pedestrians, they are warranted. And so in this case, with the park and
Excuse me.
yes, sir.
What's MUT? What do you?
NUTCD.
Traffic control devices.
Manual on uniform traffic control devices. So national standards on how signs and lights are placed.
Thank you.
And but with its proximity to the park and farmers market, it would be warranted in this situation. So we would recommend replacing those yield signs with stop signs.
I agree. I use that intersection a lot to take my children to soccer. So.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion?
Sure. So moved.
Okay, moved by
Second.
Kness, second by Ham. Any further discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Kness.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Estey.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Great, thanks. Approved unanimously. Next is ordinance. This is a first reading, consideration of amendment related to definitions of vehicles and pedestrians. And again, if you'll give us a little background, and then I'll open the public hearing.
All right, so there's two main objectives with this ordinance. The first is to update the ordinance to come in compliance with new state laws that were effective July 1 related to definitions of the crosswalks and pedestrians. The state code changed the definition of pedestrians, pedestrian conveyance and such, and that's in sections 4 and 5. The other thing that we're requesting a change for, and sections 2 and 3 were approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. We get a lot of complaints in Code Compliance Office. Our code specifically says that you can't park a motor vehicle in the front yard. It doesn't say anything that you can't park a trailer in your front yard. And so when we say you can't park your trailer or your boat in your front yard, our code does not say that. It specifically says motor vehicle. So we're requesting that the code be changed to say all vehicles, watercraft, or portions thereof shall be in a garage, driveway, or in a side or rear yard. So again, sections 2 and 3 were also approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission prior to coming here. Yes, sir.
If it's a corner lot,
They have 2 front yards.
they have 2 front yards, so they can't use the one side yard.
Correct.
But they would think it would be the side yard.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. And I mean, they can still park it in their driveway.
Yeah.
They just can't display it.
How does vehicles, watercraft, or portions thereof constitute trailers?
So the definition of a vehicle later on and in the state code is a vehicle is anything with wheels, whereas a motor vehicle is anything that transports people.
Got it.
And so that's why we had to take out the word motor vehicle.
And is self-propelled.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Self-propelled is
Thank
key, yeah.
Let Terry should just. I've learned a lot. I learned a lot in updating this ordinance. So,
Bet.
Okay, so with that, I'll open a public hearing. Does anybody want to speak to this ordinance? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing.
To make the motion to move ordinance on relating to the definition of vehicles and pedestrians from the first to the second reading.
Okay, moved by Flournoy.
Second.
Second by Gandy. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Kness.
Yes?
Estey.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Great, thanks. Yeah, was passed unanimously. Next ordinance, again, is a first reading. This is consideration of amendment to Chapter 20 on dog kennels.
all right, with the third and final reading of the dog ordinance, one of the things that we've had come up in planning and zoning, even prior to this, is the placement of kennels, establishments that would have the 5 or more animals. Our zoning code does not define where those would be allowed. We do have pet stores and animal hospitals allowed, but we don't have it in there. And so as we better define our animal ordinance, we wanted, planning and zoning wanted to update this as well. So we're proposing, and this has also been through Planning and Zoning Commission, is that kennels and animal hospitals and clinics would be a permitted use, meaning they'd be automatically allowed, no conditions, in manufacturing, manufacturing 1 and 2. And so manufacturing 1 and 2 would be pretty much north, the northwest part of town and southwest part of town. There are areas in that side of town that can be expanded to. Conditional uses means that they are allowed, but they would go in front of the Board of Adjustment to have conditions such as additional fencing or landscaping if they were in those areas. Our main portions of B2 would be West Burlington, and I think there's some B2 on Highway 1 South. So think highway commercial. So B1 would be our center town. B2 would be the exterior commercial areas. And then the rest are some definitions, again, to make sure that we have this kind of all tightened up before we finalize, or as we finalize our dog ordinance.
Good work. I appreciate the fact that we've tightened this up. And with that, I'll open a public hearing regarding the dog kennels and their placement. Does anybody want to speak to that? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. And council?
Will this impact any current animal hospitals or people that we know have more than 4 animals at this time?
You know, I did not check the ones that have more than 4 animals.
Okay.
But thanks for bringing up the other ones. So the existing vet clinics are actually all just outside of the city limits.
Okay.
The one that is near Walmart would be in a B2 if it was annexed. Noah's Ark is also just outside of city limits, but would be in M1 if it was to be annexed. The vet clinic that is
Madison.
on Madison
Mm-hmm.
is also just outside, but it's surrounded by residential.
Right.
I don't think we want to allow it in residential, and should that one be annexed, it would just have to be discussed with the Board of Adjustment at that time.
Okay.
I don't think there's any way around it.
But technically, that's in the county now.
It is still in the county.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
So where is the city limit line then on Madison?
It's right there.
It's right there.
Yeah. In
Okay.
fact, they had been asked to come into city limits, and the neighborhood said they didn't want it, and so the Board of Planning and Zoning Commission denied their application to be annexed.
Okay.
Why didn't they want it?
I don't remember. I just remember that's the only time I've ever seen us deny an application.
Right.
So.
Unusual.
And then as far as the vet clinic, I mean, the vet clinic on West Burlington and just a few houses are carved out there. The fairgrounds are not in city limits. So the places that aren't are right on the edge. But if they are right on the edge, the other places would make sense if they were annexed.
Okay, so is there a motion to move this to the second reading?
I had one more question. Are
Oh, sorry.
kennels allowed in B1?
So they are not. They are not currently. Things that are allowed, what would be allowed in B1 would be pet stores, which are defined in our code as not allowing the boarding of, multiple dogs. They would have a very limited number plus other animals, but it wouldn't be the B1, so it wouldn't be allowed in the downtown area.
Okay.
And so I think the difference between a kennel and I know we have some grooming facilities that are in B1 is that they're not boarding them in for an extended period of time. Maybe it's, I'm not a dog person. Sorry, I'm a cat
It's
person.
usually like an hour or two.
Yeah, it's not for a long, and if at most it would be overnight, and it's not for an extended period of time that like a kennel, by the definition that's in this, it wouldn't meet those definitions.
It's compatible with the district because it's retail or service.
Yeah.
It's the way we've decided in the past.
Does this, it seems like we're kind of just taking away a possible exception for people who do currently have more than 4 dogs, right? By also regulating, or was this in the works anyway, or is it just because we're going to be passing the ordinance and the intention was to make sure nobody utilizes that exception?
So we have, prior to this ordinance, we have had a couple people inquiry about having boarding kennels and things like that, and the best we could point them to is, well, we've got some that are kind of in an M1, but we'll have to send you to Board of Adjustment no matter what.
Okay.
And so this just gave us an opportunity of, hey, let's clean this up. I don't know, John, if you have anything else to add, but
Well, that's pretty much the way it's been.
yeah, I guess my concern would be someone in a residential, the people who have more than 4 at this time, we've kind of talked about, as long as they're not a nuisance property, of allowing them to continue through attrition. But my concern would be someone that has more than 4 and then claiming that they're a kennel, that they're boarding these animals for someone else, and then we get into issues. And I guess I don't want to go down that commercial route in a residential area.
If the city provides conditional use, can it revoke that, or is that set in stone?
So conditional uses are issued by the Board of Adjustment.
Right.
Conditional uses cannot be overturned by the City Council.
But could the Board of Adjustment go back and
could.
reconsider? Because I'm thinking if
Thank you,
someone's
John.
got 5 dogs and they're a good pet owner, I don't see any reason why the Board of Adjustment couldn't give them conditional use as long as the dogs remain not a nuisance, right? So that would be, yeah.
And
I
different
haven't thought about it.
examples that John's given me with conditional uses is sometimes we issue conditional uses for a time period and that they have to come back for review to the Board of Adjustment. And maybe that is something that we recommend to the Board of Adjustment, should anyone come to them, is that we have them over a time period to make sure that they do well.
And almost consider it like a grandfathered thing, not like, oh, we're going to continue to let you have more than 4 dogs, since that's the ordinance.
And that,
No,
No?
we're gonna,
we're
Talk about that
going
later,
to have a discussion later after this ordinance, assuming you want to pass it through the third reading, about some resolutions concerning the procedures by which we enforce this. And one of the questions will be whether the council wants to be part of the review process. I'm not recommending that, but that's one of the questions some towns actually do. Or you'll have both the Animal Control Review Board and the Board of Adjustment as possible places that a person that feels that they've got the good arguable case to be grandfathered or to be treated different, like Matt's 5 owners or 5 animals instead of 4. And we probably need to be as clear as we can with people about when this will be in effect, but it won't be grandfathered, and how it will be enforced after it's in effect, as far as we're not going to have a house dog patrol going
Right.
around and counting dogs by the home. But the other side of it is, I think we're going to run into some people right away that want to ask you to consider different variations on a theme. For instance, 5 racing dogs that they're racing, and it's almost commercial. We may have to figure out what a commercial animal operation looks like that's not livestock. Similarly, there's some people in town that have animals that are racing dogs, some people that have show dogs, and it turns into a question about how many of those should they be allowed to have. And I still think our ordinance is a fair amount, but puppies come,
Yeah.
you know,
So-
part of it and so forth. We've got that built into the ordinance, so.
So can we,
That's
so we'll
fair.
cross that bridge when we come to it, John, and then, so let's see, does the council want to move this to the second reading? Or, you know, I mean, obviously your other option is to table it until you get more clarity, but what would you like to do?
I'll make a motion to move it to second reading.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, moved by Toohill, second by Kness. Any further discussion? And then I think we can have, again, more discussion next round on second reading if we need to. Okay, if no other questions, please, oh, go ahead, you're gonna have a question?
No,
or
I don't have a
statement?
question. I don't have a question.
Okay, please call the roll.
Toohill?
Yes.
Kness?
Yes.
Rove?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Estey?
yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Okay, that was approved unanimously. Ordinance 1251, this is the second reading, consideration of amendment prohibiting parking within the city right-of-way along Highway 1. I'll open the public hearing. Does anybody want to speak to that? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. This is the second reading. Yeah, does
Second
anybody
reading. If you have any questions, I
Yeah.
can speak to it, but.
In front of Adela's and Bountiful Bakery, it doesn't apply to them?
Correct. They already have parking and we're not changing that.
Correct.
So I'll make the motion to move ordinance 1251 from the second to the third and final reading.
Thank you. Moved by Flournoy.
Second.
Second by Ham. Any further discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Estey?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Rove?
Yes.
Kness?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Okay, approved unanimously. Ordinance 1250, this is the third and final reading. This is the amendment to Chapter 6.12, Animal Control, considering permitted number of dogs. And again, this is 4 dogs per household. I will open the public hearing. Does anybody want to talk to that? Okay, guess not. Close the public hearing. And council?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 1250.
Okay, moved by Flournoy.
Second.
Second by Gandy. Any further discussion?
How are we going to, or when are we going to determine how to, I guess, allow for any variances? Or you were talking about, obviously people aren't grandfathered in, but then what is the process for people who have more than 4 dogs who want to be considered?
So they're going to come to Board of Adjustment.
Board of
Correct?
Adjustment?
No?
That's the plan?
Animal review.
Board of Adjustment is only for Chapter 20 zoning.
Okay.
Okay.
It's not in the animal.
So would they come to
section.
animal review?
I think they'd have to come to animal.
Animal review committee.
Okay. 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 Good. I just wanted to clarify.
Is their decision final? They make a recommendation to council, or?
They should make a recommendation
Yeah.
to council, actually.
Yeah, it's,
Never
you guys
heard
have
of
the final decision.
Yeah.
Say that again, Melanie.
Do you want me to get my zoning back?
Sure.
Oh, do we need to wait for that?
I don't think so.
Got a motion in a second, right?
Yeah, we do have a motion, a second. Any other discussion? Okay, go ahead and call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Kness,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Rove,
Yes.
Estey.
Yes.
Okay, that was approved unanimously.
Oh.
Okay, under the mayor's report, I think the first order of business is to set the city council work session. Would like to do that in October or 1st of November. Anybody want to propose a date? I mean, I know I think it's the 3rd week, the 18th, I won't be here in October, but any other dates, I'm good. Want to go for the 2nd week of October?
I'm open every week in October right now.
Okay.
What is the second week? What date? What day?
I'm not available the 2nd week of October.
I'm not either.
Okay.
Are you speaking a weekend?
Yes,
Generally
Saturday morning
Saturday.
from like 8:30 to noon.
Second Saturday of October, like the 12th?
Yeah.
I could,
I'm not available.
you're not available.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm not
what-
available
what
during
about
the
the-
week.
So what's the 4th look like? Can't read the.
26?
The 5th.
4th is the 26th.
Yeah, the 26th.
No, that's Thanksgiving weekend, isn't it?
No,
October.
October.
26th.
I'm sorry.
October 26th.
October 26th.
I can do
How about that?
That's fine.
I can do that.
Great.
Okay, let's do that. October 26th, 8:30 to noon. And
But I could.
we'll try to get you in the next couple weeks, some agenda items for you to think about, and let me know if you want anything added, or if you've got something on your mind now. I know I have a couple things that I've talked to other members about, so I'll include those.
8:30 to 12?
8:30, yeah. I just have a few announcements. Thanks to Chief reminding, I just want to remind the citizens, in 2 days on Wednesday is our anniversary of 9/11, so if you're so inclined to have a moment of silence for all those people that lost their lives in New York, and also just, nice little prayer for our own firefighters and our own police and people who serve us and emergency workers. It's kind of a sobering day. I have been getting emails on deer and the public safety hazard and et cetera. I just wanted to remind citizens that it is against ordinance to feed deer within the city limits. So if you're feeding deer, please don't do that. And also, we do have in the fall we do have a bow season. And I know some people don't like it, but there are some parameters by which that can be done. So that may be for another discussion later, but I just wanted to let people know that I have been getting some emails. So I haven't looked lately to see if
It's
there's
a lot in my ward. I mean,
so
they're excessive. I could hit one every night on my way home.
right. I haven't looked lately to see if there's any new and interesting thing that any cities are doing. But John,
We have a couple different ordinances that we've attempted.
Yep.
Plus, they have an annual hunt out in the park, which is where some of our deer come out west of us from Jefferson County
Yep.
Park. But our ordinance here in town does allow you to, if you have a deer tag and it's in season, to shoot a deer if you're within the DNR rules.
right.
With a bow and theoretically in your backyard. The problem with the DNR rules, and I'm trying to get them to compromise on them, and I've been talking to the Conservation Board, and I'm supposed to have a meeting with one of the conservation officers for our district. You can shoot, I could stand on my deck and I could plug a deer any afternoon of the year with a bow, except my backyard doesn't give me a 300-foot span even diagonally to make a clear shot with a bow. That's what you got to have in town. Now, our bigger lots in town and some of our R1 districts would allow you to do that if you wanted to shoot a deer. The only thing is, it isn't clear right now whether somebody besides an owner can do that. I think an owner can give permission for somebody else to shoot if they've got enough space. The issue hasn't come up yet so far, but I think there's other people that would take the shot. Basically, the only test they give you if you go out to the parks as far as shooting is whether you can hit a pie tin with your arrow within 20 yards or 60 feet. That's a pretty easy shot, frankly, but that's not in the same class of rule as the 300 clear span foot shot. And that's to protect the rest of the neighborhood from you who aren't necessarily making that easy shot. So we may get a little bit of a compromise from DNR on it, but I don't think they're going to give up 300 feet. If you could diagonal 150 to 200 feet, that would catch most backyards in our ordinarily sized 32 by 66 foot lots around town with a little space to spare, but I don't think we're going to get that tight. But anyway, we do have something there we're looking at to see if there's a little bit easier way to do that. Still, we had very few people take us up on the opportunity to shoot down in the green belt down behind junior high and so forth. They have gone from, the first year they had like 60 people take out a license out in Jefferson County Park. I think last year they had about 20. There isn't as much interest in it for some reason. There's still as big a deer herd though. So,
Yeah. Okay.
We'll continue working.
Keep us informed.
Yeah.
There was an emergency management meeting last week. It was voted to pay for 2/3 of the cost of the AppArmor app. The safety committee is going to talk about that, so I'll let them talk about that when we get to that. But I just wanted to let you know so that the city's cost, if you approve, would be 1/3. But again, we're going to hear from the safety committee. I want to do a shout out to the Beautification Commission. They were downtown in full force on Saturday cleaning things up, and I saw the back of a truck completely loaded with brush and weeds and such, and a big thank you to everybody who participated in that. Also on Saturday was the Matt Stutzman Parade, which was just a joy to see, and all the people who came out, you really gave Matt a wonderful welcome back to Fairfield from winning his gold medal in Paris, and he was so sweet. He let all the kids hold it. I got to hold it. It just was very inspiring. My husband and I remarked how we were kind of up the rest of the day from seeing so many people out to welcome Matt home and all the good press it was for Fairfield and for Matt, and it was a good day for him, I think. There is on September 24th from 9 to 10 a.m. Penny Vasek, I forget how to say her last name, but she's the representative from Grassley's office, is going to have her town hall office meeting here at City Hall. Again, that's September 24th from 9 to 10 a.m. She'll be here at City Hall, so if anybody has something that they need to deal with Grassley's office, she'll be in here and can take any of your concerns. So that's gonna happen. I think that's all. City Attorney report.
Yes, Your Honor. I wanted to comment on something maybe, frankly, I can't read and I can't see your faces and I can't drive, but I've been listening to social media. My wife reads it to me religiously. And one of the things that came up last week, we had 2 or 3 hearings I went to over at City Court, and one of the persons that was there made an accusation that I know showed up on social media following that. And it was basically that the city is sitting on top of entitlement funds to help people with cleanups of their properties that are being pursued for nuisances. This is just absolute misinformation, the only way I can put it. But I did talk to 2 of the people that showed up with the defendant that day about what it was they thought they were talking about. And they told me some things that I had distant recall about from about 10 or 12 years ago, because we were asked to entertain it here, but it ended up being administered by the Board of Supervisors, and they had a housing repair trust fund that I know Lee Dimmitt was on. So after our hearing upstairs at court, Weston and I went down and we talked to the auditor's office in the courthouse about whether that trust fund still existed. They said, no, it's been out of existence for the last 4 or 5 years, but it used to give loans between $8,000 and $12,000 to people for a new roof or a porch floor or something else they could fix on their home. They had to own the home. They had to agree to documents like a note and a second mortgage. The mortgage would be forgivable if they continued to live in the home for 7 or more years. And it was a good program. They spent all of the money. All of the people that could possibly qualify for it that the Board of Supervisors could administer to, according to Lee Dimmitt, got what there was. But it didn't get renewed, and the money came down from the state. Sometime in the past, I was asking Becca about this earlier, we've had a hand in some of that with some monies from CBDG, or CDBG, and we helped 7 or 8 places that did some fix-up, but that was more like about 15 or 20 years ago, wasn't it, Becca?
Yeah.
Well, that also sounds similar to the Area 15 program that's available now.
Yeah, and I thought the people that came to court with the defendant were from Area 15. I just found out today not so. They're part of some advisory group out on campus. And I'm going to have a talk with them about that, because I think the magistrate was a little bit misled by what was going on too. But on social media, there's nothing to any representations that the city's sitting on little pots of money to resolve different people's nuisances. And it's referred to, I believe, in at least one of the posts as entitlement funds. Entitlement funds, if it was coming down from the state and it was administered through a program that had federal and state requirements beside our local ones, they could probably call it something like that, but that's not what's going on. And as far as Area 15, they've had some things in the past too that were ready loans for different kinds of things. But again, they involve, you have to be a property owner. So if you're renting a trailer lot and your trailer is being criticized for having a nuisance, basically a yard that has weeds and can't be mowed and has junk, those things have been pursued a number of times by our code enforcement officer, but they don't qualify for those kinds of funds. Aside from that, there may be some spin-offs out of something like what the revitalization committee looks at. There may be some spin-offs off of the RAC grant, although that's looking at a different kind of housing situation generally from just repairing roofs and porches. Clearly, it's a big project, but at this point, if you see more of that showing up on social media or somebody asks you about it out of your constituency, tell them that is not the way it works. At the city, we had a gentleman here when we had homelessness discussed that gave us a great checklist as far as what's available in our area and our town, and that gets handed out by officials around the community when there's somebody that appears to be in need. And I know there's another group in town, I don't know if he's still chiropractic or not, but Dr. Mike McConaughey hands out that kind of stuff, and I think he was interested in what was going on up at court the other day too. So those kinds of things are out there. The community policy that we have towards people when we do a nuisance abatement, we do not intentionally dislocate people. More of our nuisance abatement allows people to stay and clean up their own situations. You've had a variety of them here in front of you at times. The car lot over at the corner of 7th and Jefferson, that got resolved over time. We just had something like that down 7th Street further last week in court. The situation over on 6th Street that has resolved nicely as far as the Franklin property and the house that was torn down. He was actually an excellent example of the city being compassionate enough to step off the beaten track, ask for help from Optime and a couple other agencies in town to find a place for him to live, and unfortunately he passed away within a year or so after that. But he spent his last year in a nice independent living apartment over at Jackson Point. And there are other things like that that are offered to people when we're knocking on their door about these abatements. And Weston knows where they are, and he's talking to people about getting on the list over at Logan, Calou, Wagon Wheel, the pods down behind French Rent-A-Cars that are farm home. We have more of that in town. So have an answer for these people that think that we're heartless SOBs. We're not. And Weston gets the brunt of it. I usually don't hear about it until I'm upstairs with a judge in the room. And essentially, I think our town has always tried to be fair with people. So enough said about that. Let's talk about dogs for a minute some more. I know that's your favorite topic from the ordinances today, but the review on these things hasn't had some fact situations in front of it yet. I've done a little research on a type of zoning where animal use for commercial purposes, awards, benefits, prizes, etc. Actually, you can zone for something like that if you want to have somebody in that kind of business. I also tried to figure out if it was a kind of business that might fit as far as a home occupation. I don't think that the city engineer, I think it's really a home occupation that fits our ordinance. But I would anticipate that sometime after we have this ordinance in effect, you may have somebody that presents you with a scenario where they really aren't ever going to be happy with only having 4 dogs because their racing team of dogs has 6 dogs. And they don't think they can satisfactorily carry on their activity or be an award winner without backup dogs. And I don't know enough about dog racing to tell you any stories on it, but I do know that we'll probably face that challenge at some times, and we'll have to figure out if that isn't one of those things that both the Animal Control Review Board should treat as legitimate, and probably our Board of Adjustment may have to look at too. But when we're finishing off on adoption of the numbers of animal ordinance and the kennels ordinance, the way I see that rolling out next is you'll have a couple weeks for publication, and then we'll probably need to put a little story in the newspaper about the fact that we've gone to this, and Becca informs me that our annual dog licensing rule basically starts January 1 of each year. It's not an anniversary of the license. So January 1 of each year, and they have to have the dogs correctly licensed by June, is it 30th or 1st?
June 30th.
June 30th. So going forward, everybody can have 4 dog licenses per household, but if they're asking for more than that, we'll have some things we want to be able to tell them about if they've got some unique circumstance that we haven't had to consider before, that we still have ways that can be reviewed. And we've always given the public that in the ordinances that affect things in their house, so to speak. So I could see it coming up in that area. I could see it coming up in people that are doing show dogs and pedigree, AKC type registered animals, that they've got some reason why they need more than what our ordinance allows. I think kennels and breeding facilities, still, there's quite a body of law on that, but some of these things that are a little unique, I understand in this town we've got some people that not only have show dogs, but they have members of the greyhound family, whippets and things like that, that are racing and coursing dogs.
Well, John, we could talk about that at community dialogues also in the end of October.
I think yes.
And so, like you say, we'll try to get that out, all this information, and like you say,
So
when we put something together, sometimes it's not perfect. And
after
we
you
might have
guys
to adjust.
decide if you're passing both of the ordinance, and after we've got something put together as far as what we think a good protocol would be and a timeline for putting it out, we'll bring you back a resolution that probably the engineer, Weston, and I will have talked about.
Okay.
Okay?
Great. Anything else?
No, I think
That's all we got. Okay, committee and board reports. Councilman Estey, setting scheduled committee meetings.
I just wanted to make a pitch, and I know I've discussed this at some of my meetings, and I was curious if everyone was going to maybe be on board with having standing committee meetings. I know that it would help, like, with scheduling, so that we don't have to go back and forth, and then also if there are members of the public who want to attend, it would help them, so they don't have to keep on checking the calendars. And I know I've talked to a couple different people about it, and the community who would be interested in that as well, find that helpful. And of course, selfishly, I would find it very helpful, so you don't have to keep on going back and forth. So I wanted to float that idea.
Well,
I would suggest you leave it to the individual committees to decide.
yeah, I was going to say I'm kind of like, if you're chair of that committee and you want to make it a standing committee, or, I think that's fine.
Yeah, the problem is that sometimes then there will be, like, you'll try to make it a standing committee meeting, but then there will be another meeting that will have to be held to push it, and I understand that there are going to be exceptions, but then I don't know. It just seems like so much administrative back and forth that is totally worthless, but it's fine.
Well, I was going to say, if I'm open to, if you and I want to sit together and kind of pencil out potentially so we don't cross over, and then see if people like to do it.
Okay.
If they still want to continue to be on their own, fine.
Yeah.
Just schedule no more than one a month going forward. If you have to schedule an extra meeting beyond that, it could be done.
Yeah.
I don't know what everybody
For
else's
each committee.
schedule is, but I personally don't work a normal 9 to 5, so I'm not always available at the same time.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I may have we may have noon meetings one week and 6:30 meetings the next time or something. So,
Is there one that's you prefer?
me?
Yeah.
Well, I no, because I won't. Yeah, although I may be available for a noon meeting one week, I may be out of town the next time. So, or the same with an evening meeting. I may be in town one time and out of town the next or something. So,
Yeah.
I can't really commit to the same
No.
schedule.
That makes sense.
So, and I apologize, but it's just
Yeah.
the way
No, it's
mine
fine.
works. So,
Okay.
All right.
Okay, well, I guess you can continue to think about it and see if we want to do anything different. Public safety and transportation.
Thank you, Mayor. This week we met on 3 items. The first one being about the dog bite incident that we were told about at our last meeting. The Browers came to that meeting, which was very helpful, and we discussed further their incident, but then we came to the understanding that they wish that they had known that this dog did have a past history in 2022. Also, they had a lot of questions about what our process was to let people know what their process is once they've had such an incident, because they felt like they were just kind of going into that a little bit blind. So what we saw is we need some type of a radar map if there is a dog that's had, according to our process, there can be one incident, and then if that dog is withdrawn and kenneled and kept away from the public. But if there's a second incident, that's when it goes into a more assertive effort to remove the dog from the premises of the city. And so, but what we were talking about is this where a dog had had a past, sorry, I'm thinking of the 2 stages. There's the aggressive dog that charges at someone but nothing happens. But then there's a difference between one where the bite,
Dangerous
the
and
vicious.
vicious.
Thank you. Dangerous and vicious, yes. And so we were discussing the differences of that. What they were asking is there a way, once a dog has, maybe given that first indication of a behavior, that could start being mapped or kept on a spreadsheet or something. So far, we don't have anything like that. So our discussion was, what would that look like? And just going through that thought process. So that's where we were at the end of the meeting of how could we better alert. One of the things is there's a difference between, one way that could happen is because if the dogs are licensed, they have a number or a tag that has the number on it. But if the dog owner takes that dog away from home, or as in the case of what happened with the Browers family, they had gone to a friend's house and it was a neighbor's dog of the friend that came through the bushes at their daughter. But they said certainly if they had known that there was something in the premise, they would have been more cautious with their child in the vicinity. So that's one of the things that we talked about of what that would look like to have that type of information so that parents would know. So that's just where that's at right now, is just that discussion. But further, just explaining the incidents then with public health because of rabies whenever a dog bite does occur, and that it involves more than just our city government, but these other authorities then of the police department and also public health being involved in all of that. And then as we are looking at all of these incidents where someone may not have had an incident before, but this is their first offense. So those are all factoring into that whole scenario. And we just wanted a way to map that out so that parents or family members would know what are their steps to be following as they go through that. So that's what we'll be working on to map out for them. The next thing, and I guess, Melanie, I would like your help with this, is the AppArmor Rave mobile safety notification system. What we were hoping was an app such as counties in Southeast Iowa that are starting to tap into this. You want to explain how it works? more efficiently probably than I would. But what we were hoping is we could give, public notice where people could just go to a single app as opposed to having going into Facebook and doing all that for these types of notices. But we found out that this is not necessarily an immediate app.
Yeah, so so one of the things that we got clarified was that the app does or can send immediate alerts. So, weather alerts or emergency situations that need to go out to the entire county, we would certainly still do that. But what we learned is that we cannot separate the city and the county alerts. So that is something that so we wouldn't want to send out a text message alert or an alert through the app that the square is closing at noon, because then that would maybe deter county residents from using the app because it doesn't apply to everyone and may not be as useful to everyone. So I think what what I had sent to the committee is if we want to study, if we want to look into the app further in order to fully understand what it would be able to do for the city, that's understandable. However, I still think it will be a great resource. It maybe isn't the only resource that we need in order to communicate with citizens, but it will be a place that can get out a lot of information. What it would still do is that as soon as you open the app, it will let you know if there are alerts. It's just not gonna push notifications. So people would have to be like, they come up to the square and say, oh, there's activity going on, what's going on? And open the app and see, oh, the square's closed on Thursday and Friday for Thursday, Friday, Saturday for Kids Day in the Car Show. They would have to open it in order to see it. They just wouldn't get a separate text message or a push notification. And so, again, if you want to send it back to the committee to review, that's understandable. But I think what I sent in that email is it's a third of the commitment for the first year is $2,300.
I got it right here. $2,366 for the first, and then the next year would be $1,767.
Yeah. So it comes out to be about 20 cents per citizen per year, which compared to the other apps is very cost effective. And again, it may not be the silver bullet, but I think it would be one thing that we can use to help with the citizen contact.
And that would either be coming out of general or possibly at this time, the first year, it could come out of the police department budget because they do have money set aside for administrative staff that they don't currently have filled. So but money is budgeted there that we could pull it the first year from there, and then the second year find another slot that we could take it from.
Applications are open.
Yes.
Yes.
At the police department.
Yes.
Yeah,
we want those filled.
We could send out a notice in the
Admin.
app that they're taking applications.
Yes.
An admin person and police officers.
Right.
So if you're
Right.
interested at all.
And we all along those notes, we did have business cards printed that you can all take that says we're hiring for City of Fairfield. It takes you directly to the application page. So take it. Anyone, whether they would be a police officer or a lifeguard, we have the full range of job opportunities within the City of Fairfield.
There you go.
But we did find out that this app would be, it is more geared for county-wide things, so it wouldn't be just for Fairfield.
Right.
It would be nice if we go to the League of Iowa meeting, we need to ask them for an app for municipalities that would be similar.
No, and they do. There are apps, and we could certainly pay to have an app of our own, just with this opportunity, paying for a third of it rather than paying for 100%. That's really what this opportunity allows us to do. Maybe we participate in a third of it for the 5 years and decide we love it and we want to have an app of our own, or we decide 10% of our population is using it, it's not worth it. So,
But I could see where not only for the county, but for the emergency management, it would be good for them to have as well.
My instinct is that it might be easier for the city to get residents to install one app the first time than, one app now and another in a year and a half. And as a result, I kind of want to get it right on the first try.
Right.
Even if that means waiting a while and possibly spending more.
Yeah.
So that we have an app that really has all the customization and features that we're looking for.
Yes. So those were our recommendations, but since we did find out that it wasn't instantaneous, we wanted to check into that further because we would like something that would be a little bit more immediate, especially if we need an emergency way to alert people. So this might give us time to study that out, but that's where we were just letting you know where that's at. But things have shifted since we got further information between our committee meeting and the meeting tonight.
Okay.
So the last thing was the radar speed signs. There are 2 places that have been recommended by the state along Highway 1 so that we can facilitate these signs that would indicate the speed of a vehicle going by. One is the dip in Highway 1 north up by the campus. And so it would read speeds as people are passing through there. If you're 5 over and above, it starts showing your speed so that you can reduce your speed. Also, between the roundabout and the bridge by the hospital is the second place that the state has recommended. And we are just letting you know that we said to give the go-ahead to Melanie to recommending that the council would agree and approve these radar speed signs. They are free from the state, but in 7 years, the city would be required to replace the batteries when they go out.
These are only on the side coming into town.
On both sides. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Both
north
sides?
and south. North and south, right.
On each one, so there's 4 of them?
No.
No, it's just one indicator coming into town, not leaving town.
Right.
That's my question.
Yes, so that people can adjust their speed. It's a behavior modification device, basically.
Maybe after 7 years, we wouldn't need them.
Well, they kind of make themselves obsolete, is what we understand. And cities or towns smaller than us have put them in, but once the batteries go out, they don't have the money to replace them, and the state kind of knows that. So that's just where that stands. Melanie said she'd be the oldest one here, or the youngest one that will be the oldest by the time they're going obsolete.
But they're not equipped with solar panels?
No, are they equipped with solar panels?
Well, they'd still have a battery even if they have a solar panel. The solar panel will just recharge the battery, so they probably still need batteries that
The
replaced.
battery just runs out and dies.
Right.
Yeah.
Can't be
Yeah.
recharged.
Exactly.
Okay, so you want to vote on that?
Yes.
Are we responsible for other maintenance costs or just the battery replacement? Like if it gets damaged, who pays for that? Sorry, Melanie.
So yes, we would be responsible for that as well, but like any of our other signs, we send those through that person's insurance, and if that doesn't pay it, or if they don't pay them, I mean, we hope to recoup those costs.
And just to be clear, these are not finable traffic.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we might put like a picture of Radar O'Reilly underneath it, just like as a joke, but other than that, we do about it.
Yeah. Self-adjustment is the idea.
So Judy, do you want to make that motion?
Yes. I make the motion that we would approve that our city engineer go ahead in compliance with this request by the Iowa DOT to place the 2 radar speed signs at both the north and the south entrances into the city on Highway 1.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Gandy. Any further discussion?
These will just replace current speed signs. There's current speed limit signs, correct? Okay, so it's no new signage, it's just replacing the current ones. Okay.
It's a replacement of the
No,
posted.
it's a,
I believe the
it's a
sign
number.
location is slightly different,
Yeah.
but yeah. It's my impression.
Those are just the boxes on wheels that flash your speed.
No,
Yeah.
they're permanently mounted.
Oops, sorry.
So the two highlighted locations, so
Here.
they're permanently mounted in the very, very similar, very close locations to existing speeds signs. So the nearest ones will be removed, like within feet.
So there'll be a speed sign indicating the speed prior to running into this thing.
Nope, it's all on the same post. It has speed limit 35, and then below it, it says
Okay.
your speed is, and if you're
Yeah.
going more than 5 over, it tells you to slow down. And if you're going between 5 and the speed limit, it flashes it. Not saying that I've gone over the speed limit in Richland, Iowa on Highway 1, that I know how it works, but that is how those signs work.
Or
There's
on
no
D Street
camera
this
on
week.
the machine.
No.
What?
There's no camera.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded for Melanie to go forward and work with the DOT placing these signs. Any further discussion? Go ahead and call the roll.
Ham,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Estey,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Kness,
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Environmental and franchise utilities?
Oh, yeah, thanks, Mayor. We met last Friday on the 6th. We only were discussing one agenda item, probably not surprising. It was the compost pile. We did come to a recommended course of action, and that is what this is about here. This is samples of yard waste tickets that we would like to start issuing for the compost pile. Essentially, citizens can come in, they can get a yard waste ticket for a small load or a large load, and then it has the specific regulations and the available dates. This will be seasonal, so it'll be open from April to November. This year, we're just gonna extend it for an extra month so that people can kind of catch up on some of the yard waste that maybe they were unable to drop off at the compost site since it's been closed. One thing that we left open was the cost of the tickets. We wanted to allow to assess what the administrative costs would be. And Becca, I don't know if you've kind of come up with anything yet.
Well, not a specific cost,
Yeah.
because we thought while we were doing trial, we would just do this in-house.
Okay.
Um,
I still feel like maybe we should come up with a cost, just set it now. And then one thing that Joe recommended was a small load, which is half or less of a pickup truck, is $12.50. And then a large load would be $25. But I thought maybe we should add a little bit more to that just for some administrative costs per ticket. It does sound cheap, and it would help offset some of the costs, of course. And we can set specific dates so we make sure that someone's there to get the tickets and make sure that there's no abuse. I think some of the concerns that were raised, and we did have 2 citizens attending, and they were concerned mainly about their access to mulch. So we definitely want to continue to make mulch available. That's not a current concern right now. So we are going to be working through how to continue to make mulch available for people. Also, there were some concerns about the way people bring in their yard waste, but that might just be a function of the way that we've allowed people to bring it in, like little drips and drabs, is that the expression? Little bits here and there, basically, like in their car. So that might be a little bit of an adjustment for people, but we thought that this was probably the best way to go forward.
Well, and I wanted to address one of the misconceptions that people have is that we started charging for this when we opened the city compost site, and I know Joe has reiterated this, that basically it's road use tax funds that are paying the wages of the people that are taking care of it, and those are the dollars that are paying for this. We never implemented a charge for the use of this site. And I've seen people on Facebook commenting about that, so I just wanted to reiterate that. So that the fact that we would be charging for it is not an additional fee. It's the first fee we would ever charge for the site. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would make a motion to proceed with issuing tickets for the compost site. I guess on a trial basis, we've got a few more months available this year, and maybe just contingent on pricing unless we want to figure that out now.
So they're going to come into City Hall and get a ticket?
Yes, they'll be coming into City Hall.
Okay.
It's limited to residents of Fairfield. It's kind of going to be on the honor code. We're not going to be like checking and making sure, that people are actual residents of Fairfield, but
Well,
we're
they
going
can
to
look
be
up and see
saying
if they have a
that.
water bill, right?
If it's in their name.
Well, okay.
There might be some nuances, so.
I do have a question about it being at the Jefferson location, which is the city shed, correct? Do you not feel like that incurs more hours for your staff if you just didn't allow them to go to the actual compost site to begin with?
I'm prepared just to do that through December, just
Okay.
to get people out of the habit of going out there to the other site, because what they're doing is if they go there, then if they can't get in out there, then they're
Dropping
dumping
it over the fence, yeah.
And we moved it already. What we did on, Tom was out there, we did it on Saturday, it went really well. We had 60 to 100 people roll in there. We had like 4 dump truck loads of brush and like a dump truck load of yard waste. We've already moved it out to the other site. It took us about 45 minutes to get that done.
Okay.
Went really well. All the residents were, I had like 3 people that I told about what you guys were thinking about maybe doing. They were, they scowled a little bit. Everybody else was, yeah, let's do it. They were very receptive to paying, so. Of the ones I didn't talk to all 60 to 100, but
Sure.
I talked to a bunch.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That there was that many people come through.
The ones I saw too were really appreciative that he was doing this also.
Yeah,
And he
awesome.
did, for the short time, I was out there maybe a half hour, 40 minutes or whatever. I know you turned away at least 2 contractors while I was there.
Just 2, and that's
So-
something that we can talk about on down the road too. I just want to get something going, and continue it on, and it could evolve into something else.
Do we still need to make an ordinance to allow for you to implement those rules, or do we have an ordinance
I think that if
in
we're
place?
there and we monitor it,
Right. I just want to make sure you're covered by, like,
I think we're
law.
good. I think we just need to get people where they can get in there, we can handle it, and then later on down the road, if we want to allow contractors in there, we can make that adjustment on down the road. I think it went smooth on Saturday. Let's move forward into December, and then we can continue to add to it and make sure we have a good plan instead of coming up with the whole plan right now. Let's just add to the plan as we go and make sure it's the right one.
Okay, sounds good.
So Rebecca was talking that we would need to change an ordinance
For the
Make
fees.
this
for a fee.
An
For the
ordinance? Oh, the
fees.
fees,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fees,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which, October 4th, yeah, we probably need to do that.
So,
Yeah, one reading,
well,
if you so choose.
So
Yeah.
Well,
because
we
we're
could
charging a
maybe-
fee, we need an ordinance for that?
Yeah.
If they're gonna get tickets.
And we have
for
to do 3
October.
readings?
Well-
We sell tickets now for the yard waste bags.
Yes,
Does that not cover this too?
no, because there's a specific fee for that.
Okay.
We couldn't just,
We can amend it,
we can amend that.
but it's still an ordinance that would take
Still in
3
three
readings.
And those are
Right.
tiny little bags, right?
The,
The yard waste bags?
well, we won't sell the bags, it's
Right.
just we sell stickers to put on the bags. Yeah.
so can we have that ready for ordinance review our next meeting?
Yes.
And
If we
I don't know.
what it cost.
So maybe we'll just start.
I'd say let's go with Joe's recommendation to start with. and-
I can still do
Okay.
the October thing.
Yeah, I was gonna
Doesn't
say
matter whether that's
October
ready or
4th and
not.
5th, just
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
it,
Maybe
and then
could do,
by
like,
November, we would have an
What you did
ordinance,
this last
hopefully.
weekend, maybe just keeping it,
Yeah,
have
we'll
it
still go with the
open.
dates,
Okay,
whether it's ready or not.
okay.
Okay,
Sounds good, thanks.
And then just go with the cost, the price that we have now, $12.50 and $25.
And get it in the water bill tomorrow.
okay, well, let's make a motion for that.
Okay, so I guess, do I have to amend my previous motion? I did make a motion.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Proceed with the tickets.
But I guess I have to amend it. I'll amend my motion that we consider issuing tickets for use of the compost site and with the cost being $12.50 for a small load and a large load, $25.
Second.
So, and that means half a pickup and a full pickup.
Correct.
That's what you're talking about.
As small load is defined by the tickets that we have.
Okay.
Small and large load respectively.
Okay. Okay, is there a second to that motion? Oh,
I second.
we got,
Kennels.
okay.
How's the motion
Sorry.
read?
So far to proceed, consider the use of the tickets with cost being $12.50 for small, $25 for large.
So, do we need a motion for October 4th and 5th, or any date?
The dates.
This is covered in this motion?
Well,
Well,
This is gonna be,
I would think it would be whenever we
Make it
implement this,
effective.
that
Okay.
fee would apply.
Okay.
So you won't need
Yeah.
to indicate the date, I don't think.
And the
I think
dates are on the ticket too.
I think the 4th and 5th, he'll just handle like he did this last weekend.
yeah.
So,
Because we
So,
did
but
make
this
a
will
motion
go to,
for
this
that.
part will go to ordinance.
Yes.
Gotcha, yeah.
Okay, so everybody understand that motion?
Yep.
And any clarification needed? Okay, any further discussion? Now, please call the roll.
Estey?
Yes.
Kennels?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Toohill?
yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Thanks, everyone, for working on that more. I know it's been a challenge. Appreciate that work and Joe's work on that too. Anything else in that committee?
No,
just
Mayor,
that one thing?
just the one agenda item.
Property committee.
We had a meeting today, but we don't have any recommendations to bring to council. There's been some interest in 504 South 6th Street by FIDA, but we haven't received a formal request from them yet. So, a realtor, local realtor, what's a BPO? I can't remember what that stands for.
Buyer
A local
price
realtor-
opinion?
Huh?
Broker price opinion.
Yeah, so they priced the property at $10,000, and we accepted that, and are considering restrictions on the property in terms of how it would be handled if we were to sell it to FIDA. But we'd like to have a letter from FIDA expressing interest in the property and what they want to do with it. I mean, I've heard on the street and word of mouth what they want to do with it, but we want something in writing.
Okay,
So
so,
Ed's here, and
I thought I was here about 6 weeks ago and a petition that it went to committee.
well, I'd say it went to committee and then now they have,
Come back.
sounds like
it took us a long time
some
to
new
get the
conditions.
valuation of the property.
And
We just got
so, maybe you should take it back to committee and have Ed come in.
It's in the committee
with that.
now. 504
Well-
South 6th Street, or what are you asking me?
I'm saying that Ed's unaware of what conditions you've put on it, so,
What just happened today? Yeah.
right, so maybe he wants to come back to committee and talk to you, or,
Yeah, I can tell him after the meeting today, but
Right.
council hasn't approved it, so it's moot right now. The council would have to approve those amendments or those conditions before sale.
okay, that's fair. But it'd be nice to get it done, that's my point. Like that,
We did it as soon as we could.
okay, that's, we could argue that point, but that's all right, we're not going to. Okay, so anything else? That was the only thing for property committee? Okay. Okay, planning and zoning
Excuse me,
committee.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I want to
minutes.
interrupt.
Yes.
Just to understand, for the property committee, the next step is for this property is for, have another meeting and have FIDA, Representative FIDA, Mr. Malloy, speak to the committee? Is that what we're looking for?
Yeah, sent us a letter telling us that they were interested in buying it. That's what you suggested today.
Right, we have seen it. Mm-hmm.
And then we have the established price now from a realtor, fair market value. And then we discussed some conditions to put on it on the sale.
Yeah, I thought we determined the conditions.
Right.
Yeah,
And then
I think those
and then we
need
have to
be
set a public hearing.
presented
Yeah,
to
we're gonna put
FIDA,
that all
right?
together and bring it to the council at the next meeting for your
But why
approval.
go through that if FIDA doesn't even know what those conditions
He'll
are? Maybe they
present.
won't be interested. Why go through those steps if he doesn't know what?
Well, we just decided like 6 hours ago.
Why wasn't he at the meeting? I guess is my point.
I don't know.
Okay.
Could we present the conditions to council and have them approve them, and then FIDA can decide whether, I mean, then it cuts out at least one part of it.
Agreed. Yeah.
No,
Right?
It seems
no.
silly to.
Well, I don't want to rush you.
Well,
I think Ed has something to say.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, go ahead, Ed. I mean, I was going to say, you can
Well-
you can fully more report about what those conditions were, right?
what the committee decided, okay, so we're into that property probably close to $20,000.
Right.
And the valuation of the property is $10,000. So to lessen the bleed to the city, the committee discussed not allowing a tax abatement on that property when it's been sold to a homeowner,
Okay.
and that the sidewalks have to be completed prior to sale.
Okay.
That's the only two conditions set.
Okay. So, good evening, council. Thanks for the opportunity to visit on this. This, I think, our approach to this is to find something that really serves the need for affordable housing, first and foremost, because this is a part of an infill program that we really want to jumpstart, and we want to set an example with this first project. So the thinking was between the city and between the Economic Development Organization, we could figure out the best way to make that happen as quickly as possible. We are planning to do something through the Homes for Iowa program. So we would be ordering and purchasing a home to put on that lot, along with some other supportive features to the home as well. But time is of the essence too, because this is the phase where those homes are being ordered for next year, and the entity has to have ownership of it in order to place it. So if the committee does meet again relatively soon, I'd love to come to that meeting and discuss some options.
Doug, do you think your committee would waive that condition about no abatement if they came back with a development agreement that was part of that deal with the state?
I don't know.
I guess I'm just throwing that out there because
Well, I think that's a discussion
you sound like you're prepared to do a development agreement to put something very specific there, which is always nice to
Yes.
plug into.
Well,
a
when we
development
decided
agreement.
on those two conditions, we knew that was the verbal language that was being passed around, that they were going to put a prison industries home on that lot.
Right.
So we knew that when we decided not to allow the tax abatement. And the reason we didn't want to do the tax abatement was because we're already down $10,000.
You're already down, yeah, I understand that.
So I would agree with you, Ed. Like, this is a first time or close. So we want to set a good precedent. And so we had to take in consideration, of course, the cost to the city.
Absolutely, yeah, we do also. And the thing is, this is just one of a number of scenarios that we have in play at this point in time. We want to work closely with the city. We have investors within the city that would like to help with this program with programs with homes that are condemned and will be demolished. So we have resources that we can bring to this. So we want to demonstrate what we can do on a vacant lot like this, and we want to help the city proceed in this area of condemnation and dilapidated buildings being taken down. So, yes.
So John, to be clear, let's just, I don't know if we can assume, but let's assume that they want to move forward. Do we put this on to set a public hearing at the next meeting, for the following meeting, to sell this property? What's our next step?
Well, we've we've
officially.
had some scenarios in the past, and I'm thinking about out the northwest corner of town and so forth, where Habitat or somebody came in, they bought one of those houses. The way I recall it, those got abatement. And
Well,
we had development agreements that it
I'm
would work that way when we.
Yeah, but I'm specifically talking about the sale of the land.
The procedure, we need to have an announcement that there will be a public hearing and then have the public hearing the following meeting. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I think is the step. That's what I'm
Well,
looking for
here's
clarification.
another-
Or does he have to do something first?
If the FEDA board came back with an offer and acceptance agreement to the city, you could just put it on your agenda as consideration of an offer. And you need to make sure it got in the paper, what is it, 4 and 20, Becca?
Yes.
All right, so that it was out there for the public to look at it, and theoretically, the public could always come in and say, no, I want to bid more than your offer you're getting, but it doesn't work that way usually. So if they made the offer, and then you had it on your agenda, and we had the notice in the paper, it could be an all one meeting transaction.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to clarify.
That's what I thought would happen the next meeting. We'd have the public hearing
Okay.
and the sale, vote on the sale at the same meeting.
All in one meeting.
Yeah.
Because I know what we had talked about, what I had talked about with Doug was setting the public hearing for the next meeting. But if we can do it all in one, I think, let's.
Well, it's like an
yeah.
ordinance. You don't have to set the public hearing. You just have one before you vote.
Yeah, so, okay.
Do we have another, this is a very obvious condition, but the condition that it be used for housing, I know that that's FEDA's intention, but just so that, we were very clear
R1,
about that. Yeah. That it's,
We didn't stipulate that, but I mean, it's already zoned R1, so.
yeah, but I thought we talked about that instead of,
You don't want to
because
sell
there
it to a neighbor.
are two, right,
You're just
exactly.
gonna
There
buy
was a
it.
neighbor who was maybe interested in purchasing it to build a garage, which
Right.
was not something that we wanted to
No, we won't
entertain, so that was another condition.
Okay, so we don't have any motion at this point. So,
But we're going to set a property committee meeting, I suspect fairly soon.
Yeah.
Very soon.
Does this constitute their intention on record tonight, or do you want something additional from FEDA?
I don't know. What do you say?
Yeah, I'm not prepared to make anything
Okay.
specific
Yeah.
tonight,
Okay.
so I would prefer to have the conversation with the committee,
Okay.
just to see what options are, because again, we want to continue this working relationship, so this would be a good start.
yeah.
And doesn't council have to approve the restrictions
Everything.
prior, right?
Well, at the time of sale, we could approve or not approve any restrictions that we want to include on the sale.
Yeah, if
We wouldn't
if
have
they
to
bring
do
an
it
offer,
ahead of
we can
time.
put it on the
As part of
agenda
the
for
package,
next,
and
for
in the
next,
motion, you wanted to
for next
strike one of the
meeting.
conditions, you could do that.
Okay.
It's part of the motion.
Okay,
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
In fact, the committee didn't even vote on the restrictions. We just talked about them.
Okay.
So it's not even a recommendation to council yet.
Gotcha.
Okay.
okay. Planning and zoning committee minutes. Melanie, is there anything that you wanted to point out there? Okay. Administrative department reports. We need to set the trick or treat night, and the chief has requested Thursday, October 31st, from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m.
Going as a police officer again this year. I just need to talk about the next thing real quick.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve that night for trick or treat?
So moved.
Moved by Kness,
Second.
second by Ham?
Estey.
Estey, sorry. You guys are sounding alike tonight. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, homecoming, September 27th.
The schools and the homecoming committee are requesting the inside of the square for all the floats that'll end up there.
That's usual, right? That's normal?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay,
And do we need to talk about the parade? Are they doing that again?
They've kept us in the loop. We're gonna do a safety with the fire department to make sure there isn't on the route right before we always run the route to make sure there's no low branches and but we've relaxed a lot more because it's become pretty standard and they've already
Yep.
let us know.
Okay.
okay. So is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Toohill,
Second.
second by Gandy. This is to approve the parade route and the inside of the square
Yes.
as normal.
Yes.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, that's approved. City Administrator report.
A few things that I want to address publicly so that we have a reminder. The September 12th and 13th that we will have City Hall closed to through traffic. There'll be a skeleton crew here because they're doing a software training that is necessary for us to keep conducting business. Secondly, next week, September 18th and the 20th, myself and several council members will be in Sioux City, Iowa, going to the League of Cities. Looking forward to that. And then lastly, those recruitment cards that Melanie had developed, they are sitting on my desk. If any of the council members or department heads would like those to help us recruit, we've got some police officer positions and a few parks positions open. And I'm willing to, hopefully that'll help us so we're not giving out flyers. We can just hand out a card, but I have those. Is that for questions?
Any questions? All righty, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Could we, Your Honor,
Yes.
one more thing, just for Doug's information and for the council's information. The corner of 2nd Street and Harrison, the owners of that property have talked to me on the telephone yet, and either tomorrow afternoon or Wednesday afternoon before this place is closed, I anticipate we'll either have a conference call with them or they may want to come in and talk with whoever's going to be here. And that'll include me.
Okay.
Didn't they list the property for
Yeah,
sale?
it's on the market.
It's on the market.
I know it's on the market, but they're still in possession and they're still
Okay.
open to some corrections. So, anyway,
Okay.
that's new and I meant to report on it.
I don't know.
Okay. So it's been moved by Toohill to adjourn. Was there a second?
Second.
Second by Kness. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, council.